evening, everyone, and welcome back to the World Online Racing YouTube channel for another round of this PC Tier 1 season. Tonight, it is round number 10, and the drivers are taking to the Austrian circuit. It's a fantastic track, the Red Bull Ring, here in the heart of the mountains. It's a beautiful circuit, Nathan. I can't wait for today. My name is Dan Field, and as always, I'm being joined by Nathan. Nathan, how you doing tonight?
I am doing perfectly fine as normal, Dan. It's great to be back here again, of course. Missing last week. We're back again for the action as well. I mean, I think we've had to have a bit of a break. The drivers have got to brace themselves for what could be probably the most chaotic race this season because Austria, in quali, you see the top 20 separated by like 2/10. In the race, you got the OP slipstream, DRS, and then the drivers, trying to pay a bit of chicken up to some of the hairpins and some of the tight corners. So it's going to be an interesting one here tonight, I think.
Yeah, this is one of the closest circuits. In terms of lap time, it is the absolute quickest on the Formula 1 calendar. It's going to be 36 laps today, and we can see gaps for pole position in the 1,000ths of a second. It's going to be an absolutely enthralling qualifying. We're only doing Q2 and Q3 because we've got 5 drivers retiring from Q1, so we're going to be missing Thomas Ronhart, Ismail Fassi, Alvaro Carreton, Jake Benham, and Shanika Clay. All of those guys are starting from the back of the grid, so we'll see how they fare around this circuit, Nathan, where overtaking, it can be quite difficult sometimes, even though there's lots of heavy braking zones up through turn number 3 and then down and towards turn 4 as well. Because the DRS train is so prevalent around this circuit, it makes it very difficult to actually find a move.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from lap 1 until the last lap, every single car, bar a few that have had an incident, are in that leading train. And when you're in the top 5, it's quite easy to make those moves. But once you start going back into the mid pack of the train, so like P12, P13, and near the back, it's pretty much impossible to make moves at some points unless you dump all your battery and go for a bit of a risk, which might not always end well. You might end up going a bit too late on the brakes or even too early and getting yourself into contact. So those at the back have got a lot to do. And, the likes of Thomas, Jake, Isma, 3 of our quickest drivers in this tier, they will certainly be put to the test.
Absolutely. And I'm very excited to see how they get on during the race. But for qualifying, we've still got some big names into the mix. Let's have a little look at who isn't spectator? Ishmael isn't spectator. They all need to be spectator for this to actually work out. So please, if they are watching, just go spectator mode. But right, I'm going to get the grid up. Well, not up on your screens, but I'll read it out to you. So in the Red Bull, it is Julian Klaffenbach and Bent Jabot-Cogny. No Jarno Otmir once again. Mercedes is Jake Benham and Istvan Pukki. Ferrari, we're missing both Nicolas Longe and we're not missing Jan Halle. He's here tonight. We've got Barry Burman missing tonight. Lenny Pepinter is the other Ferrari. McLaren is Tycho Hardy and John Evans. I'm gutted to see no Will Lewis on the grid this evening. Aston Martin is Fabrizio Donoso and Duncan Hoffland. Alpine is Ruben Pedreño and Joris Krozen. Williams is Ismail Fassi and Alvaro Carreton. RB is Tom Manley and Reese Linton. Kix Sauber is Thomas Ronhart and Brendan Lee. Then Shanika Clay and Tamas Gow line up in the Haas. Before we head into qualifying, of course, they're doing the proceedings of getting through Q1 because for some reason the game puts you in that session regardless. So whilst they're doing that, let's have a little look at our results from last time out in Austin, Texas. Tom Manley took victory ahead of Thomas Ronhart in second position. Jake Benham rounded off that podium. Lenny Pepinter was in P4. I believe he finished on the podium, ended up taking a penalty, promoted both Ronhart and Jake Benham. Then Julian Klaffenbach. Oh yeah, Jake Benham actually got a penalty removed. He had a 10-second time penalty, I do remember. That's why he's so far up the order. Lenny Pepinter 4th. Julian Klaffenbach in 5th. 6th was Tycho Hardy. Brendan Lee, gotta say, a disappointing 7th for him. Shanika Clay in 8th. 9th is John Emmons. And then Bent Jabot-Cogny rounded out that top 10. And let's have a little look at the driver's standings heading into this evening. Still a long way ahead of Tom Manley is Brendan Lee at the top of the standings. 148 points to his name. He can wrap up the title. I'm not entirely sure on the permutations for this evening, but he is ahead of Tom Manley by almost 40 points. 39 is the margin. Thomas Ronhaar is getting closer in that scrap to Tom Manley. They were 1 and 2 last time out. He sits third on 90 points. Jan Ortmeier still P4, despite not racing, the last 4-5 races or something. He is still almost 30 points ahead of Ismail Fassi at the minute. Isfan Pookie is in 6th position. It's a nice fight for P6 in the championship. Pookie on 36, Lawrence on 35, Nicholas Longe 34, Jake Benham 33. What a nice little standing graphic we've got there. Then Barry Burman, he's missed out 32, he's on 31. But Nathan, coming into this evening, Brendan Lee, he can wrap it up today.
He certainly can. I believe it's 12 points he has to outscore Tom Manley by to do it, which is more than possible. But with Tom Manley's given form at the moment, it's going to be very, very difficult. I think it would take more of a mistake from Manley than it would anything here from Brendan Lee. But I think last week with a P1 for Tom Manley and a P7 for Brendan Lee, I think it has started to cause a bit of a turning point now, the gap being a lot smaller than it has been in the previous rounds. I mean, earlier on, you was thinking maybe he's going to do it with 4 races to go, maybe he'll do it with 3, but now it's looking like possibly it could even go to the final round, depending what Brendan and Tom do today. So it's definitely a very important race for the championship. And this race could also decide who wins it, in the sense of if Brendan Lee outscores Tom by 12, he'll get it. If Tom Manley can maybe get a win and Brendan Lee only gets a P7 or a P8, it will certainly go through into the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not over yet, despite the margin that Brendan Lee does have of 39 points. It's gargantuan. He's going to come into the final 2 races ahead of Tom Manley, but he still can lose it. So we've got to watch out for Tom and Brendan Lee. Both of them, they know the championship fight. They want to go for that belt, both individually, but of course only one of them can take it. Brendan Lee, he started off the season absolutely sublimely. Podium every single race in the first 6 races. The last 3 Grand Prix, he's slightly fallen off, but definitely not enough to really say that he isn't deserving of this championship. So Brendan Lee can do it today if he outscores Tom Manley by 4 points. It's really sad. I don't have a graphic or anything. I've been asking about it in the request chat. No one got back to me this evening. So unfortunately, if Brendan does do it, we're not going to have a graphic to show on our screens. But no worries, as I'm just going to tab back into F1. Are they getting ready for for
they're
Q2?
just loading in.
Perfect. So we'll be seeing Q2 very, very soon. And this, Nathan, is what I absolutely love. We're missing out Q1. To be honest, it's a pointless session, especially if we're losing just one driver. So Shanika Clay, he was our saviour, Nathan.
Yeah, exactly. It took a while. We was thinking, we're only going to have one B knocked out, but Shanika at the last minute said, you know what, I'll start from the back. So luckily, we can head straight into Q2 and also save ourselves nearly 20 minutes, which means we can go off a little bit earlier and have a bit of a longer rest. But the one thing I do love about having, no Q1 and go straight into Q2 is it gives some of the reserves and some of the newcomers a chance to get into the top 10, because we've got, I think, 6 reserves here in this session. So we'll see at least, I think, 2 or 3 of them heading their way into Q3, which is certainly something we always love to see. And it's always nice to see someone else fighting at the top with some of these veterans in the scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's head over now to the game scene, and you can see what is happening on your screens. A couple of drivers coming out onto the circuit already. Fabrizio Donoso is out there, and I believe he's being trailed by Lenny Pepinter. There's a lot of black chevrons on the circuit, so it's going to be quite difficult to work out who is who. But it's nice to see Reese Linton. He's got a pretty unique car here this evening. He's got the red with the purple, a combo that we don't typically see. So fair play to Reese Linton. One key thing to note here, Nathan, is that of course we've skipped Q1, so they essentially all have a fresh set of rubber. So if they wanted to test out their machinery or anything, there's no need to go on the intermediates. That's why everyone is out straight away on a fresh set of their soft compound tyres.
Of course, and I think the first driver to set a lap, will it be Donoso, or have I got that wrong? Because I'm trying to figure out who's who. No, it will be Lenny Pepinter, who will be our first driver to set a lap here in this Q2 session, the first session of the evening. And Lenny Pepinter, from what I know, around this track, he's very, very quick. I remember over in PSGL, in the E-Series Championship, he got pole, and it was, I think, by over a tenth of a second. It was a brilliant lap. So Lenny Pepinter is definitely someone we need to keep an eye on tonight as he heads his way up to turn 3 and with some DRS down towards turn number 4. And of course, with the track being so short and the lap times being so small, one small mistake around here can lose you 3 or 4 positions. So the drivers have got to make sure they nail their laps and get it perfect. Otherwise, they could be, in a position to be on pole by turn 5. One corner later, a slight mistake, they could be dropped down to P6, P7.
Absolutely. Lenny Pepinter, of course, today he is coming in with a decent run of form. P4 in the last race. He finished on circuit on the podium, ended up picking up a penalty, if I'm not mistaken. He'll head through now the final 2 corners. I know all the names, but I just can't remember them exactly where they are on the circuit. He'll fly through the final corner at, I believe it's Red Bull Mobile or something. He does a 1 minute 3.164 ahead of Fabrizio Donoso in a P3. A nice lap time from him there. Duncan Hoffland, a fantastic run, puts himself into P1, just 3 thousandths ahead of Reese Linton, who's come across the line in P2. What about Istvan Pukki up next? You can already see how close these lap times are. These gaps are minuscule, and then John Evans blows them out of the water. A 1 minute 3.091. A nice lap time from him there. Tamas Gao.
Oh, Manley
run from him. Yeah, Tom Manley. We just caught that on our screens. 1 minute 3.000 for Tamas Gao. It's a disappointing end to his lap, Nathan, considering that Tom Manley, he's done a 1 minute 3.5. He's only 5/10ths off after practically half spinning the car.
Yeah, that could have ended very poorly there for Tom Manley, but luckily got it through the final corner and got a lap on the borders. Ruben Pedronio there will set a lap, but it's a 1:13.8, so he's definitely got to go. Again, but a brilliant lap time as well there from John Evans in second place there, just about a 10th off of Tamas Gao and just about half a tenth ahead of John Evans. But a big surprise, Brendan Lee down in 7th place, just over 2/10ths off the pace from the quickest driver at the moment. That is certainly not where we expect to see Brendan Lee, but I'm just on board here with Jan Halliday, who's gone purple on my screen in the middle sector here. So we'll see what type of lap he can perform as he heads his way into turn 9 and then into turn number 10. Of course, Aston Martin development driver here is Jan Halliday. He'll head through the final corner up to the line, and it will be P12. That is certainly not going to be good enough there to get him into Q3. He's a couple of tenths off P10.
I wonder where the mistake came from Jan Halliday there. He looked pretty decent when we came on board with him around about turn number 4 in the live feed. So Jan Halliday possibly in the first couple of corners. If you get that run wrong through that first turn, it completely screws you over for that very long straight in towards turn number 3 at the heavy braking zone. So you've absolutely got to nail turn number 1 around this circuit. I'm wondering, has Jan Halliday messed it up there? He's got time to go again. Still 10 minutes left in this session. Everyone comes back into the pit lane, and just like that, as quick as a flash, we've already ended the first runs. We've only passed over 5 minutes from this session. There's Julian Klappenbach to the line, a 1 minute 3.096. A nice lap time from him, but still 3/4 of a tenth off of Tamas Gao.
Yeah, and it would have been P10 there for Tiger Hardy, but unfortunately had an invalidation in the third sector. I've got to say, very nice at the top there between our top 3, just separated by a tenth of a second, and then another group of cars back from P4 to P7. Those from Duncan Hoffland down to Istvan Pukki, they're only separated by 30 thousandths of a second, so the lap times are already very close in this session, and everyone has certainly got to go. Again, I think maybe bar Tamas Gao, I think he might be safe on a 103 flat, but everybody else certainly has to go again. Of course, we've still got 9 minutes, so they can go for 2 more runs here in this session, and luckily, because we didn't have a Q1, they've got a lot more soft tyres to use through Q2 and Q3, so they don't have to worry about using a used set of the soft tyres, especially going through into Q3, where you want to be able to get as many runs on a brand new set as much as possible.
Yeah, you can get about 2 runs in Q3 on completely fresh sets of tyres. So of course you've got to box, then change your tyre. Tycho Hardy, interestingly enough, he'll come back into the pit lane at the end of his outlap. It is Lenny Pepinter once again, the first man to get his run underway. But I'm going to turn the attention to Brendan Lee, down in 9th place at the minute. The championship leader can lock it out today, and I think one thing he'll be pleased to see is that his rival, who's still within touching distance, even though it's a very long gap between them, 39 points separates himself and Tom Manley. We'll be glad to see Tom in that drop zone. He's slightly ahead of Brendan Lee on circuit, and I'm pretty sure they will be setting their laps in tandem, sandwiching John Evans, as Brendan Lee will round the final corner to begin his run and take the uphill climb in towards that first corner. Very tricky in some conditions. You've got to change it to a certain time of the day, because that sun really can blind you. Very quick 4th gear corner. Brendan Lee will back off already on that lap. A disappointing first turn from him means that he is just going to, his run is completely ruined, and Tom Manley will turn the attention to him.
Yeah, certainly. And Tom Manley, I think, has also let off down at turn 4. So both of them have either made mistakes or thought, actually, you know what, we're not going to bother doing this run. We'll go back in and go back out at the end there. As Reese Linton goes up into second place there with a 103.025 just behind the back of Tamas Gal. We've got Joris Krozen as well exiting into the final corner. Now we'll see what he can set. Currently down in P12 in that elimination zone. To the line he goes, and he will be P3 there. Safely through for now, but of course he's still got those final runs to go very, very shortly, which knocks Fabrizio Donoso into the drop zone, and Brendan Lee, crucially, within half a tenth of being knocked out. So with that, what we presume a mistake at turn 1, he's got to make sure he can rectify that for his final run, because he's got, I think, 2 opportunities here to do it. He's got this lap now, and then he have 1 final run at the end of the session.
Yeah, Fabrizio Donoso, Isfan Pookie, Tom Manley, and now Brendan Lee have all gone for another run. I think John Evans might be doing the same. Yes, he's got a completely full battery, so they've opted to do 2 out laps to really get their tyres up to temperature. We'll see how that works out for them. John Evans is down in the first sector. Let's have a look at Tom Manley as he'll come downhill in towards turn number 4 at Schloss Gold. I know that corner name very well. We see lots of battling, lots of dive bombs into that downhill right-hander. Very prone to lockups is these modern day Formula 1 cars. Now through the double left-hander at the end of the second sector, Tom Manley is up on his previous best by half a tenth. Of course, he made that massive mistake on his previous run in the final corners, so he's got everything to gain on this lap through turn number 10. Now can he get the run? Absolutely perfect, indeed he can. Tom Manley up towards the line now will set a 1 minute 3.117 to put himself into P5. John Evans is coming across the line as well. He's up by 9 thousandths, down by 300ths. What about Brendan Lee in that drop zone at the minute? In the drop zone no more. A 1 minute 3.036 from Brendan Lee will put Ruben Pedreño in a spot of bother.
Yeah, very nice indeed there from Brendan Lee, but also a bit of a surprise there by Tom Manley, because his run originally in the first 2 sectors was very nice as Tamas Gal. A brilliant lap there, a 102.879, puts himself about a tenth and a half ahead of Reese Linton. Now that is a really, really good lap, and I don't think he needs to worry about going out again for a final run here, as I'm just on board with Taco Hardy, heading through the final corner now, up to the line, currently P15 without a lap. Where will he go? P6 there, just ahead of John Evans, and now Tom Manley is also looking to be under a little bit of pressure here, and also Isfan Pookie is out of the top 10, and currently in the elimination zone with Lenny Papinta right on the cusp as well. So I think, Dan, with just over 5 minutes to go, and with the gap being so small from P2 down to P12, I reckon we're going to see probably 1 or 2 surprise exits here, because it's really close at the moment, and I think a lot of it might be down to luck of getting every corner perfect here, not rather than that pure skill.
It doesn't seem like any runs are underway at the minute. 5 minutes left to go. Reese Linton, Joris Krozen, and Lenny Pepinter have come out very early, to be completely honest with you. I think Lenny is in the final sector. Indeed, he is. So we'll see what Lenny Pepinter can do.
Maybe double out lap.
I think you might be right. I feel like everyone's doing that this evening. If there's someone who's a bit more experienced than Nathan and I, please do let us know why they're actually choosing to do these double out laps, because I thought Brendan Lee completely...
See, Dan,
huh?
What I presume is, sorry to cut you off, what I presume is because it's such a short run, I think they've got too much fuel, even when it's on the lowest option, so maybe they have to burn a bit more. Maybe. I might be wrong. Just a guess.
No, that does make some pretty decent sense. Lenny Pepinter didn't quite catch his sector time. We'll see. What about Joris Krozen? We'll see what he does through turn number 1. It seems like he is pushing on this lap. Joris Krozen at the minute in P4. You could argue he is safe into the next session, but judging by how close these lap times are, yeah, no, he's not pushing on this lap. He's down by 4 tenths in that first sector. You could maybe assume that the likes of Reese Linton and Joris Krozen, they're definitely through into the next session. Lenny Pepinter most certainly is not, and he is actually pushing on this lap. He's up by just over a tenth of a second. He'll come through the final corners now, so we'll see what it is for the Frenchman in the brilliant black and purple car with the yellow accents to it. He'll shoot his way up into P2 with a 1 minute 2.904, a fantastic improvement of just 1/10 of a second. Nathan puts himself from P10 and potentially out of this session if he didn't get a lap hooked up, to now P2, and I'd say safely into Q3.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody, Reese Linton down needs to go again in this session here as Reese just exits the final corner now. Up to the line he goes, and it will be a 102.948. So the top three are safe, I'd presume. But then again, you never know. There could be a bit of a surprise to the end, and everyone puts in blistering lap times, and we, could even get Limper Pinto Reese Linton into a spot of bother. But I've got to say, Dan, I don't think it's that much of a worry now. But it's getting darker on track, and people have been a bit more rushy this time. So is the rain possibly on the way?
Possibly. We'll have to wait and see, as people are complaining about my microphone. I've just adjusted it now, and I'll move it very close to my mouth, so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. But if not, I'll turn myself up, and I already know what it is, Nathan. I already know
Is it that issue again?
I think it's done it again. I'll fix it heading into Q3. But for now, you know what, Nathan? I think you can take the end of this session once we actually get to it. I'll just speak louder for one, and then we can we can really, you can cook at the end, maybe in the last minute or so. So let's see. Who do we want to watch on the final runs? Joris Krozen is headed through the final corners on a push lap. He's had to wade his way through traffic. Even with the ghosting on, that is still going to be a big visual distraction for him. He'll come across the line, only 0.002 of an improvement. He's not going to have the battery to go again. If he's got the fuel, Nathan, Joris Krozen, he can get another lap on the board. But with those tyres completely cooked, he could be in a dangerous position come the end of this session, as Reese Linton and Tamas Gow, they believe that they are safe into the next parts of qualifying. I'm inclined to agree with them. I think that they are indeed through and into the next part of qualifying. Duncan Hoffland has already invalidated this run. He's going for 2 out laps, as is a lot of drivers. One man, though, who is improving, Tom Manley, Nathan.
Currently in P9, though, Tom Manley needs a big improvements here in this session to try and get himself through into Q3 safely. Currently, only around 0.5% clear of that P11 spot here. So a big improvement is needed here by Tom Manley, heading through into the middle sector now, into turn 6 and turn 7, up by around a 10th here, which will put him around P6, P5. So it's not the biggest improvement here in position, but in time it's certainly a decent chunk indeed as he heads into turn 9. Then into turn number 10 here. What will it be here for Tom Manley as he exits the final corner? A bit snappy, but gets it through nicely. To the line he goes, and it will be P4 there with a 102.997. I'm just trying to find someone on a lap here. Tycho Hardy, he's heading through his speed into turn number 10 now. We'll see what he can set as he invalidates heading through the final corner. That could be it here for Tycho Hardy, but we have got many cars now just beginning their next laps now, Dan. So it's trying to figure out who's on a lap and who's not as they all exit their way through the final corner. I believe John Evans, though, is starting a lap now, heading to turn 1.
Yeah, he is heading up the hill and into that first corner. I'm trying to see who can we actually find on a run. Pedreño is down on his best, and he's not going to get around for another lap. So I believe Istvan Pukki, who is in Sector 2, he will be the next one to come across the line with a lap on the board. We'll see what he can do through the final parts of the second sector now. And what's the improvement? 0.007 of a second. But Nathan, if he finds it in that final sector, Istvan Pukki could survive by just a single thread.
He certainly could. As Ruben Pedreño, he's out of Q2 there, has to go back into the pit lane, so he will be out. What about Istvan Pukki, though? He's looking to try and find new improvements. He's out as well, as he does have an invalidation. Heading into the final corner, a big slide there from Fabrizio Donoso. He could also be out. He's also had an invalidation and is in the wall. 2 cars looking to get out of the drop zone. Ben Shabakoni stays 15th place. What about Jan Hardy? He's the only one in the drop zone who can try and make his way through into Q3 and demote Duncan Hoffland at the moment as he heads his way through into turn number 9. Duncan will stay P10 here, so this is a big opportunity for Jan Hardy, who also has an invalidation at the final corner, so he's also going to be out in Q2. So that is it, Dan, and unfortunately, everybody we lost, I think bar one, made a mistake at the final corner.
They all bottled it. They absolutely all bottled it. Pedreño messed it up in the first sector. I saw him going slowly down in towards turn number 4. Istvan Pukki, he hops over
the curb. It's raining.
Just
about in time.
Oh wow! So this driver just got to the line. It has got very cloudy since the start of the session. But wow, Fabrizio Donoso as well. He is out of this session. He put it into the wall. I'm surprised that front right tyre is still attached. And then Jan Halliday was up on his previous best. I think if he had that lap time valid, it would have been P12 for him. So still eliminated from Q2, but definitely a disappointing way to go out. And Duncan Hoffland just about survives, but it's been a disastrous Q2 for Aston Martin. Fabrizio Donoso, of course, the namesake of the Aston Martin team, and then the development driver of Jan Halliday eliminated. It's been a difficult session for them.
Yeah, it certainly has, and Duncan was very lucky to make his way through into Q3. But here are our final classifications of the Q2 session. It will be Tamas Gall with the quickest lap there with a 102.879, followed by Reece Linton, Lenny Pepinter, Tom Manley, John Evans, Brendan Lee, Joris Krozen, Julian Klaffenbach, Tiger Hardy, and Duncan Hoffland our top 10. And we did lose Istvan Pukki, Ruben Pedronio, Fabrizio Donoso, Jan Halliday, and Ben Kanye. So some big surprises there, especially the likes of Fabrizio and Istvan going out of Q2, but into Q3, I think we've got 5 R8G drivers here, so they've got a good chance to try and take pole position. So if you're going for a bet, go for an R8G driver because you got quite a few options to pick there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just adjusting my microphone once again. Hopefully, it actually works. It's already changing it. I'm not even doing anything.
Yeah, it's gone down again.
Yeah, okay. I've got to disable it, Nathan. So, wow, as we've just loaded into the next session, you talk the viewers through what's going to happen. I'm just going to disable my mic, make sure it's all working again.
Well, Dan sorts everything out. We have got a wet track. The track is wet. Not that much rain, but there is rain on circuit, which means everybody will be going out, I believe, on a set of the intermediate tyres here. So this could be a very interesting Q3 session. But Tamas Gall has chosen to go into a set of the soft tyres here. Everybody else on a set of the inters. So this could be a really interesting one. And maybe Tamas Gall has called it right as he hits the wall, exiting the pit lane, and might have a little bit of damage there heading out of the pit. So he might, I think, have to go back in and get onto a set of the intermediate tyres. But with that being the case, it depends now on, does the track get wetter? Does the track get dry? Because it could be a one-shot quali here at this point, with it being one lap, because the rain's going to get too bad. Or, if it dries up towards the end, these first laps don't really matter that much. And obviously we'll have a bit of a one-shot at the end with one lap on a set of the soft, or maybe a lap on the set of the inters. And as we're about to get our lap started, Danny, have you fixed everything yet? Dan, there's no sound of us.
Sound of me. There's no sound of me. That's what it is. I forgot to unmute myself. This is fantastic, but you know what? It's okay. Nathan, you take it away. I've made a fool of myself once again.
As we're just following here, Duncan Hoffland heading through the final corner to begin to finish the first lap of the session. It will be a 1:10.063, and many cars still looking to set laps there. A big slide from Reece Linton as Lenny Pepinter goes up into second, as Joris Krozen goes to the top, and then we have Tom Manley, who will go to provisional pole position there by a tenth of a second. This is a key lap here by Tom Manley. Now it's trying to find Brendan Lee, currently in P8 at the moment, of course, without a lap, has a massive slide into turn 9, heading into turn 10 with minimal speed. Will get back on the power nice and early. To the line he goes. What will it be here for Brendan Lee? Only P5, a couple of 3/10 off the pole position time, so that is definitely not ideal here by the R8G kick driver, as Tiger Hardy goes into P6 there. And I think that was Duncan Hoffland going up into third, as we have Julian Klaffenbach with an invalidation, and Reece Linton heading down to turn number 4. Tamas Gall this time is out on a set of the intermediate tyres. It still says softs on my screen, but no, it is the intermediates that Tamas Gall has gone out onto circuit with, so we'll see what he can do with those tyres, of course. Going out very early on a set of the softs, that not working, has had to go back in and go out a little bit out of sync to everybody else. But so far, a superb lap here by Tom Manley with a 10th over Joris Krozen in second place. Also brilliant by Joris to be up into second, considering he's a reserve and only recently left here too. as everyone's just heading back into the pits. Dan, have you managed to fix it this time?
Well, no, I just know what I did wrong. I just forgot to unmute last time because I was doing the microphone. I was just talking about it, and of course no one could hear me. If you were able to see, I was like tapping on my microphone, making sure that the volume wasn't going down, and of course I wanted to be muted for that because then you'd have all heard me. Please do let me know if you can actually hear me now. But I feel incredibly stupid if I was still muted after all of this time. But yeah, Tamas Gal is on his run at the minute. He will be climbing up the hill. He's changed his livery, has Tamas Gal. It's normally a white, but he's got grey on the car for some reason, as he does a 17.339 in that first sector. And this lap will be telling whether or not the intermediate, or sorry, not the intermediates, but the weather is actually getting better or worse. And judging by the looks of things, it seems to me like it is the latter. The rain looks to be getting heavier. I wonder, how is Tamas Gal handling these different conditions to what everyone had at the start of the session? And is that going to be, oh dear, a terrible run through turn at number 5. He completely missed his apex on the inside line, and again he's missed it through turn at number 7. So Tamas Gal struggling on this lap despite showing 2 purple sectors on the track map. So I'm calling BS on that one there, but we'll see what he does through the final 2 corners. He slides his way through that final turn. Nice drift show that they like to give us, but he comes across the line 1 minute 10.369, and definitely he lost a lot of time in that second sector.
He certainly did. I mean, I think another thing that could be a possibility here is maybe a difference in setup, because around here you don't run the lowest wings, but you certainly don't run the highest. So maybe some people, knowing that it will get a little bit wetter, maybe, you know, put a couple of clicks up on the front and rear wing to help make them a little bit more stable when we came through into a wet Q3. That might not be the case, but it could be. That's just something to kind of throw out there and see if it is a possibility. But we have Reese Linton now just getting ready to start a lap. Of course, did a run earlier on, but must have had an invalidation or made a big mistake somewhere as he didn't set a lap in the end. So we'll see what he can do now on this first run in Q3, or this first run that he should set a lap for in Q3. Now heading up towards turn number 1, but I've got to still say, Dan, a brilliant lap there by Tom Manley. It was, I think, the 5th car to cross the line, and at the moment he's on pole by just under a tenth of a second, and the only one into the 109s.
And if the wet weather continues to get worse and the rain continues to get heavier and heavier as the session ticks on, we've got 5.5 minutes left to go. No one's going to be able to challenge Tom Manley. Tom Manley won't even be able to challenge Tom Manley, and so this could be pole position around this circuit for him. Of course, he will be at the mercy of the drivers behind if we do have dry conditions, and then the DRS gets enabled come race time, because then he is of course going to be headed up that hill in these on that DRS straight with everyone angrily charging right behind him. You get swallowed up around this circuit. But Reese Linton, he is headed now in towards the final sector. Again, they are missing their apexes. It is difficult conditions for Reese Linton. He'll head in towards the final 2 corners at turn number 9 and 10. He's going to pull off to that right hand side, take the pit entry line and come back into the pits. I wonder what that plan is there. He's coming back in when he was on a perfectly valid lap. He made mistakes on that run. Regardless, he could have had a time at least on the board.
I mean, I think the track is marginally getting worse because Tom Manley was down by a tenth in the first. Duncan Hoffland hopped the curb, but Brendan Lee is currently only 11 thousandths down on his current lap. So it's a bit of a weird one here at the moment with the conditions. We'll see what Brendan Lee can do as he heads to the line now. Will it be an improvement? No, he's down by 5 thousandths of a second. So I'm not really sure, Dan, where the track is at this point. But it does look like it's starting to get a little bit lighter on my screen at least. Well, I don't know if that's just a bit of a placebo effect.
Yes, to add even more confusion, John Evans actually improved on his previous lap. So he improved by 73 thousandths of a second, and that wasn't enough to get him ahead of Tycho Hardy. He remained in P7 with that lap. But yeah, he was able to find time in these conditions. So everyone else struggling to improve. John Evans was at least able to get a better time than he previously set. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see how this holds up at the end of the session. Again, Tamas Gal, asymmetric strategy that he's going for in regards to everyone else here this evening. 3.5 minutes left to go in this session. He is once again the only driver on an out lap or a push lap at the minute. The rest of the drivers on circuit, Joris Krozen, Brendan Lee and John Evans, are all on cooldown laps at the minute. Tamas Gal, this is a very interesting call from him.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think it was all because of that mess up, be going on a set the softs at the start. He's been forced into a position to be out of sync, which might work out for the end. It might not. We'll see how it goes here for Tamas Gal, but also Julian Klaffenbach. He's heading onto track now, so I think he might be preparing himself for 2 runs or 2 laps here in this session. As Tamas Gal has a massive slide heading out to the final corner now and heading up to turn number 1. We'll see what he can do in this first sector. We're looking around the 17.2, 17.3s as he heads through turn 1. Definitely not the best first corner in the world, but still has many other corners to go to improve on. Well, Ronnie is very poor at the moment with a 10.3, about 5/10 off that pole position. He's down in the first sector already. So it's not looking too good here for Tamas Gal. Normally, he's one we expect to see looking for pole position because he's, always up there, isn't he? Always in that top 5, top 3. But the wet weather at the moment doesn't seem to be his forte here, Dan, as the track does look like it's actually getting a little bit better here.
Yeah, I mean, we always regard Tamas Gal as being a very strong qualifier, and then he tends to slip back a little bit during the race. Ooh. But again, a big slide through turn number 6. He's
up though.
Wow, he's improving. Okay, he's found a lot of time. Okay, never mind. I was just gonna say how he's struggling to qualify in this session. He's up by 7 thousandths of a second. It's not a great improvement, but if he's able to find a little bit more time in this final sector, he could potentially put himself onto the 3rd row of the grid, maybe, as he heads now up towards the line. What's it going to be for Tamas Gal? Forget the 3rd row of the grid. He'll go 1,000th quicker than Lenny Pepinter to put himself on row 2 of the grid. So, Nathan, maybe your theory is right. Maybe the track is getting better. 1.5 minutes left to go, and everyone is coming out onto the circuit. Duncan Hoffland, watch out for him, because if the track, Nathan, is indeed getting better, he will have the best conditions out of anyone.
He certainly will, but I also think that Julian Klaffenbach is in a very good position here, Dan, because the rain stopped. The rain has just stopped on our screens, and I think Julian might be in the best position because he's already done an outlap, so his tyres are warmed up and ready to go. Everybody else has got to warm them up, and then this will be, I think, last across the line will get pole at this point because the track's going to ramp up instantly. You're going to gain a couple of seconds very easily, so it's going to be... Ooh, there's going to be an interesting train here, Dan, I think, to the line. And
Julian Klaffenbach has also burnt off fuel, so he's going to be lighter than all these other cars. He's going to be able to get to the line quicker than everyone else. In theory, we'll have to wait and see. We've got 30 seconds left of this session, and everyone is backing it up. They want the best conditions possible. I hope everyone gets across the line. We've got to watch out for Duncan Hoffland right at the tail of the train. Who is that at the very front? It is Tycho Hardy getting his lap underway with now 15 seconds left to go. John Evans has dropped to the back of the field. He will be the last one to come across the line and begin his lap, but he's only got 8 seconds to do it. If he messed up that power application, he would not been able to get across the line. As they approach it now with 2 seconds to spare, John Evans begins his run. So let's go back on board with Tycho Hardy, already up by 1/10.5 in that first sector. The track is going to be improving rapidly in these final couple of minutes here. Tycho Hardy, what can he do now? Downhill in towards turn number 4. He'll feel the grip come back to the car with every passing corner as the sun begins to peek through the clouds and glare onto the lens strapped to the top of Tycho Hardy's green and black Kick Sauber-esque car as he's up by 0.7 of a second now in sector 2. Everyone will be improving. This will be a massive blunder if you find yourself invalid on your run, as here now comes Tycho Hardy through the final 2 corners. This final turn number 10, has caught out so many guys today. Tycho Hardy might have been one of them earlier on this session, as he'll come across the line with a 1 minute 9.0. Let's see what everyone else can do. Tom Manley is one of those drivers who has had an invalidation. Reese Linton has gone the fastest. We're watching Joris Krozen to the line. Brendan Lee has gone on pole position. There's Joris Krozen into P1. Ooh. John Evans will be the last one to come across the line in P6, meaning that Joris Krozen will start this race on pole position. A fantastic upset to this qualifying session. Let's have a look at your top 10 on your screens now. Joris Krozen in P1 by 0.2 of a second ahead of Brendan Lee. It's an RHG 1-2-3 with Julian Klaffenbach in P3 alongside Reese Linton on the grid. Tamas Gal in P5, P6 for Duncan Hoffland. 7th is, John Evans is P6, Duncan Hoffland is P7, Lenny Pepinter in 8th, 9th Tycho Hardy, and then the span of just 10 seconds maybe of everyone coming across the line, Tom Manley jumped from, he dropped from 1st all the way down into 10th position. What a way to end qualifying, and what a way for Joris Krozen, really, once again, Nathan, to announce himself onto the Tier 1 scene.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's 17 years old. Surely esports teams, RXG, are going to be looking at him for next season, because so far he's performed very well. You know, it doesn't matter if maybe he practices more or more than some of the drivers here, but either way, he is brilliant. And I think esports teams will definitely be looking at him for next season because he's a superb driver. You know, obviously very new to the scene compared to others. I think he started over in PS. He came to, I think it was PCF4 at the start of last game. He's now up at the top here, WR Tier 1. And he's now looking to try and get maybe a victory here. Maybe it's a bit too much to ask, considering he's just got into pole, and we might be a little bit shaky heading on to those first couple of laps. But he's got two teammates behind him. I don't think they'll be trying to apply too much pressure. But the good thing for Brendan Lee is his championship rival is down in P10. If it was to finish P2 and P10, Brendan Lee would win the championship tonight. I mean, by 4 points.
I spoke about it. I said it's a massive mistake to invalidate your lap. You're throwing away such a good opportunity to take an upsetting pole position. Joris Krozen blew everyone out of the water. We were saying, Nathan, at the start of the stream, if you remember, how pole could be separated by thousandths around this circuit. It was 2/10 to Joris Krozen there. And if Tom Manley didn't invalidate his run, he definitely could have been in the mix and maybe could have fought for pole position. We saw it at the beginning of the session. He was the only driver in the 1 minute 9s. And I think he has made a massive mistake and he could have thrown away the title right there and then.
Certainly could have done. But I mean, the last couple of laps there, it's such a... I mean, I'm surprised that everybody bar one got across the line with a good time, because you'd be thinking at that position, the track's getting drier and drier. The inters are going to be worse. You're going to have a little bit less grip because they're not made for that, surface. You got 1 lap to go. Everyone's trying to fight for it. I was expecting a few more people to make a mistake there, but everyone, bar I think it was Tom, got through quite cleanly and fine.
Yeah, everyone got the time on the board except for Tom Manley, who spent the entirety of Q3 fastest of them all. So it's a real shame to see him not get that lap time on the board. He could have definitely. I think everyone can see it. He would have been fighting for pole position, coming off a win last time out in USA when he was, again, very, very strong in qualifying. It's a disappointing way to end Q3, but it's not over because this track, Nathan, can promote some fantastic battling. Although with the DRS train being very prevalent around this circuit, just having 3 back-to-back-to-back DRS zones, that does promote some great racing. And then it's quite a wide track, so you can have some decent side-by-side battling in that second sector. And then Sector 3, everyone will probably sort themselves out back into one line and then do it all over again 36 times over. This is a long race in terms of just pure laps that they've got to churn out, but it's going to be a very exciting one.
It certainly will. 36 laps around this circuit. I mean, I think the first stint might be a little bit boring after lap 1, because I think everyone's just going to get into a bit of a rhythm, get to the pit stop phase, and then that's where the real fighter begins and where people really want to try and charge forward. But to remember, obviously, go and get in Q1 originally, because I chose the starts at the back. Alvaro, Shonika, Jake, Ishmael, and Thomas. It'll be keen to watch them from the back and see what they can do, making their way through some of the slower drivers that didn't perform that well in quali, who might be at a bit of a disadvantage. So it'll be key to see what they can do. But I think either way, despite the weather being dry or wet, we're in for a very exciting race.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be an incredibly fun race this evening. I feel like Austria, every single season, something massive happens here in WOR, and I feel like I've got that slight hint in the back of my mind that something is going to happen again, so we'll have to wait and see. If you've just joined now, we had 5 people retiring in Q1, so there's no point in doing that first session. We've just gone straight into Q2 and then Q3, and that is why it is 7:45, Nathan, and we haven't we're about to get into the race. Fantastic. Nice, we're going to be done by about 8:30 this evening, which I'm rubbing my hands at that. We'll be out of here by 9, Nathan. You'll be having your dinner. I'll be doing what I've already eaten. I think I'll head to the gym after this or something like that. But it's a great evening for racing when there's only I'm losing my words. Q2. I can't get my words out. 2 qualifying sessions. There we go.
Of course, and Well, not long to go. We got one driver to get into the session. Are you in the session as well, Dan? Because sometimes, I remember today, sometimes I forget to join the session and I'll just sit there in the main menu and then I'll get a tag and like, oh, join. I'm like, oh, I forgot. But luckily, we're all in. We've got the last driver in now. So not long to go before we get underway for the 36-lap race around Austria. And something to quickly note is, last time out in Season 16, Euro Karaton took a podium. If you go to Season 16 and Season 15, none of the other podium sitters are here on the grid today.
Who are the other ones?
I can't remember, but I know they're not here because I remembered it in my mind.
Oh, I
remember Barry and Lucas were on the list and Jarno.
Lucas,
Jarno. I can't remember. Oh, no, Piotr Stahelek got P3 in Season 15.
Wow, Piotr
which
Stahelek.
is mad.
I've not seen Piotr in a while. I do miss him. I miss seeing a lot of these names on the grid. I don't know if he's still in here, but Keaton Lutt was talking in the live chat earlier on. Which is nice.
Times. I mean, I think I've commentated over him once, I think, this game, which was back in a team event a long time ago. It's a shame not to see him driving as much, but I think he's in FVR at the moment, so maybe he'll come back for E-Series in PSGL possibly, to see.
Maybe. If Keenan Lutt, you're still here, we'd love to have you back here in Tier 1. It's been a while. I think maybe since F1 22 we had Keenan Lutt racing on this grid. I know, it's been a long, long time. I mean, that was one of the names before I was in league racing on like F1 2019. I would always, a certain guy's YouTube videos, Keenan Lutt would always be in there. And a certain HX 4K who is on the grid here this evening.
Who's that?
John Evans. That used to be his
HX4K. Is that his name?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what it means or whatever. But that was John Evans' old name. I remember all of their old names. Funnily enough.
When I started commentary, I went straight into PC. So all these gamer tags, I have no clue about at all. So you look at it and you think, how is that related to that person's name? I mean, some of them are simple, but then some of them are like, well, that's got no correlation whatsoever. And then you find out there's a massive story behind it. It's like, that's quite cool.
My favourite was Sam Corby's, which was...
What was that?
Literally just CRG Gamer.
Oh, simple.
It was simple, straight to the point. He is a gamer, and we miss him on this grid. He got a podium here, I think in like Season 12. He got a podium in Belgium. I remember that day very, very well, Nathan.
I don't think I've ever seen Sam Corby race, ever. I mean, I'll be honest, his name doesn't ring that much of a bell to me. Shows how new I am to the scene.
Sam Corby, what a driver he is. I'm going to drop him a message after this and just say, you're right. But I think there's enough talk of my nostalgia and Nathan not knowing what I'm talking about. I'm sure a lot of people at home as well don't know what I'm talking about. Let's just into the grid. It's a little bit cloudy here, Nathan, as I've brought us over to the game scene now. Clouds up ahead. It is dry. And, well, obviously there's no rain on the circuit, but there's potential maybe for some rain.
Could be. And they're all on hards and mediums at the moment, which is what we normally see. So expect a hard to medium strategy with a couple of people on a medium. If not, everyone's going to be on the hards, which is a good option if it rains, because that means they can go very long and pick when it needs to. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to quickly check. Indeed, yeah, we are on the game scene. I've still only got one monitor, but my birthday's coming up soon, so I think in the next couple of weeks I'll be able to have the stream up on my second screen. But for now, I'm back to how I used to be when I first started. Just one monitor controlling the stream. Here we are then. Round number 10 is about to get underway. It's Julian Klaffenbach on pole position. And we are underway. Joris Krozen gets a good start in P1 ahead of Brendan Lee, who will challenge him in towards that first corner. Headed up the hill through turn number 1. Joris Krozen will hang his teammate out to dry. Around the outside, a fantastic run from him. Reese Linton will make his way up into P3 ahead of Julian Klaffenbach, not starting on pole position, everyone. The RHG cars do confuse me quite a bit. Isvan Pookie is down the inside of Lenny Pepperton, 3 wide for P8, I believe that is, further back behind. But it's been a fantastic start to this race for RHG. Joris Krozen leads Brendan Lee.
Of course, and without a surprise, everybody is on the set of the hard. Oh, massive crash at the back there. Toga Hardy getting wing damage there after hitting the back of, I believe, it was Tom Manley who drops into P14. Has Tom Manley got damage on his car? I can't see because they're all flying through. He's got no damage, but he's in P15, so at the moment, Tom Manley's got no chance of trying to bring that championship into the final couple of rounds. If we look further ahead there, Julian Klaffenbach as well on the back of Reese Linton, that's about for third place. But a decent start there from Joris Krozen, who leads away, heading on to lap 2 of 36. this could certainly be a really good race here for Joris, as Tiger Hardy will make a pit stop because he got damage on his front wing. So there was a bit of contact at turn 4, but then again, Dan, it's lap 1, Austria, a big braking zone. It's not a surprise at all, is it? Someone was bound to get damage.
Yeah, and he is out of this race. He will retire in the pit lane. There is Brendan Lee taking the lead of this Grand Prix ahead of Joris Krozen. Expect that pretty much every single lap. Duncan Hoffland is ahead of John Evans. They are side by side, headed down this back straight in towards Schloss Gold. John Evans will just about be able to edge out Duncan Hoffland's Aston Martin, who will then look up the inside with a lurching dive bomb through turn number 4. John Evans still trying to stick it around the outside, but a nice move there from Duncan Hoffland. Sees himself into P6, and that is a Dutchman, Nathan, that knows how to overtake.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we've seen many races where Duncan Hoffland started outside the top 10 and got himself into a podium position or even a top 5. So I think there's no doubt in Duncan's abilities here to try and get himself onto the podium. There is a brilliant move from Istvan Pukki into turn 9. Gets up into P7 ahead of John Evans now, who's starting to drop back a little bit there. So not going too ideal here for John Evans at the moment, as Brendan Lee does take the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as they head on to lap 3 of 36, and we charge up again to turn 3 once more. And Julian, I think he's going to look for that move. He's been keen to make it ever since lap 1, and now he's got an opportunity to make it ahead of Reese Linton and go up into third to make it an R8G. 1, 2, 3 as we move to the outside. A big send around the outside there from Julian Klaffenbach. Bit of contact with Reese Linton allows Tamas Gal to go through ahead of Julian, and now Duncan Hoffland up into P5 ahead of Klaffenbach. And one slight mistake there has cost him 3 positions heading down to turn 4.
Yeah, he wanted a bit of room where there was none whatsoever. Julian Klaffenbach left out to buy on the rumble strip on the outside of the circuit, and he has made a big error there. He was brave to go for the move. I commend him for trying the overtake, but he sent it around the outside of Brendan Lee, I believe it was, who is now into the lead of this Grand Prix. But of course, he just can't magically make room for him. He's already there on the circuit, so Julian Klaffenbach can have to go back to the drawing board. He started this race in P3, now down into P6. I said that he started on pole. I do apologise for that. I'm getting mixed up between Joris and Julian. They both start with a J. They're both green. They're both RHG drivers. It's a fair mistake to make, Nathan.
And the 2 very good drivers as well. 2 of the best upcoming drivers here in the scene as we head away to turn 4 once again. As we do see Joris Krozen take the lead of the Grand Prix, we do see as well Julian now looking to fight back again. And this time hits the back of Tamas Gal heading up to turn 3. So I think Julian needs to maybe not go to the outside at turn 3, because twice he's either had a bit of contact or hit the back of someone heading into that corner now as we head our way down to turn 4, and Julian goes to the outside of Duncan Hoffland to try and make a move for P5. Duncan will try and hang it around the outside into turn 6. Now they go, and still side by side, and Julian I think has got that move complete, unless Duncan can do anything about it, and no he can't. He'll stay in P6, and now that brings Istvan Pukki into the equation, looking to try and get up into the top 6. Of course, knocked out in Q2, sorry, we'll be looking to try and get a decent points results here as we head our way through the middle sector now. And a big mistake from Brendan Lee. Nearly brought Reese Linton right into the rear of him, heading into turn number 9.
We'll see what happens headed up the hill and towards turn at number 1. This isn't where we typically see most of the moves, but you've got to nail this turn to get it right for turn number 2 and 3. Reese Linton on the back of Brendan Lee, but Tamas Gal is entering the fray as well, applying pressure to the rear of the red and purple car. Reese Linton will have a half look to the inside line, but won't find any move there, and someone's gone up the inside. That was Julian Klaffenbach through, trying to go through on Tamas Gal. Istvan Pukki though applying the pressure as well to the R8G driver. He'll dart to the inside line, headed in towards turn number 4. They're 3 wide. Whoa, Julian Klaffenbach almost into a sandwich there, and he could have lost his front wing in the process. Somehow, some way though, they've all kept it clean. The 2 Hungarian drivers are able to fend off the attack from Julian there.
Of course, as we head our way through turn 8 into turn 9 once again, and still the top 3 remain the same ever since lap 1, being Joris Krozen, Brendan Lee and Reese Linton in third. And Tamas Gal still looking to try and be on the hunt here. On to Reese Linton, of course, also part of the RHG team is Tamas Gal, so we'll be looking to also make it an RHG 1, 2, 3 as well as we head our way up into turn 1. Thomas Ronald this time taking the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and Tamas Gal hits the back of Reese Linton, brings Istvan Pukki into the equation now to try and fight for 4th place, and once more mistake has possibly cost him that battle for third as Istvan goes up into P4 now, as we do see further back John Evans and Duncan Hoffman come into contact. Duncan looking to make a send on the back of Julian, and there was Istvan there also defending off front Tomasz Gal on that occasion down to turn number 4, and also we can see Lenny Pepinta having a battle here with Ruben for P9.
Yeah, it's all kicking off, headed down in towards turn number 4. John Evans looking to the outside line. Lenny Pepinta's trying to find a way through on Ruben Pedreño. He is ahead of Ruben at the minute as they head in towards the second sector. Now everything calms down. They get back into an orderly single file line, and then they prepare to do it all once again. Shanika Clay is through on Jan Halliday. It's been a very poor start to the race for Jan. He's only moved further and further back. Fabrizio Donoso, he's making up some ground ahead of Bent Jabo Konyi, so they're finding moves in these very unorthodox positions. I like to see that, as Ruben Pedreño, he's having to defend once again from Fabrizio. Ravenous to get this move done. He'll back off through turn number 1, try and climb up the hill and go for a move, but once again we turn our attention to the lead. Joris Krozen looks to be a sitting duck. Brendan Lee will move to the inside line and retake the lead, I believe, through this first corner. Doesn't seem like it, as they're side by side off the exit of the corner. Tamas Gao as well, wheel to wheel with Istvan Pukki and Nathan, turn number 3. What a place for moves.
It's a brilliant place for moves, and also his turn forwards. We do see Reese Linton now get ahead of Joris Krozen into the braking zone, and also Tamas Gao there looking for a bit of a send, but couldn't quite get the move done there on Joris Krozen. Will stay down in P4 as we look further back there. What's happened to Tom Manley? He's gone round. Tom Manley's gone round down at turn number 4, the exit at turn number 4, and going into turn 5, and I think that might be it here for the championship, as Brendan Lee is currently in the lead. Will be getting 25 points. He just needs to outscore Tom Manley by 12, and at the moment that will be more than enough to take the championship going through into the penultimate round of the season, as Alvaro Carton gets a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. As we head our way back up to turn number 1, yet again Julian Klaffenbach is on the charge, looking to try and make a move this time ahead of Istvan Pukki. And with these 4 here all arguing so hard, I think one of them is going to end up in a bit of bother at one point, because they're getting so close, and surprisingly none of them have really made any heavy contact. As we head up to turn 3 now, we do see Istvan on the outside of Tamas Gal heading down to turn 4 once again, and Tamas still has been able to cover off that move. Yeah,
nice defense there from Tamas Gal. He held his line perfectly. Istvan Pukki tried it around the outside in turn number 3, but couldn't quite find the traction on the exit of the corner. No moves being made through turn number 4 this time by. What a disastrous race for Tom Manley. Now down in P19. He's got it all to do if he wants to keep this championship fight alive. Here's rival Brendan Lee at the minute. He only needs to finish in what, P4, I believe, if he wants to take the championship here tonight in Austria, with 2 rounds to spare at the end of it all. It's been a fantastic season for Brendan Lee. He deserves this championship completely, but I'd have loved to have seen this fight go just that little bit longer into the final 2 rounds of the season as they climb up the hill and towards turn number 3. Still a long race left to go. We're approaching 1/3 of the way through, Nathan, so there's still plenty of room for drama to happen later on in this race, and especially with these moves up the inside in turn number 3. Joris Krozen going for it on Reese Linton. They'll be wheel to wheel off the exit. It's Noah's Ark style through that corner. They go 2 by 2 by 2, about 3 rows deep most of the time, as Reese Linton, the best defense is a good offense. He'll look down the inside of Brendan Lee in through turn number 4. Joris Krozen though hanging it around the outside. It doesn't seem like he'll find a move this time by. What is Reese Linton doing through turn number 5? Cut that out, son. He'll remain in P2.
Yeah, and also we did see Istvan Pukki get caught up in that one, as well as Julian Klaffenbach, all pretty much stopping through into turn number 6 at the apex. And there we do see Istvan Pukki back up into P5 ahead of Julian Klaffenbach as we head our way through into turn number 10 once again. And Julian, tapping the back of Istvan, heading into the braking zone. And with the cars running that close, it is bound to happen that people will tap the back of the cars ahead when heading into the braking zone. There's John Evans into turn 1, looking to make a move ahead of Duncan Hoffman. Duncan has to hang it around the outside, gets pushed off the circuit as they head their way back up to turn 3. Now Ruben Pedreño looking to make a move to get himself up into P8 ahead of John Evans, who's still on the attack, and Duncan had a bit of contact as they head into turn number 3 and looking to lead once again. Cars everywhere and making moves 2 by 2. We even getting some cars going 3 wide heading into the braking zone at turn number 3, and here comes Joris Krozen looking to make it 3 wide into turn 4 to take the lead, but steps back and allows Brendan Lee to carry on at the lead.
Unbelievable how it's pretty much remained the exact way that they were in through now turn at number 5. Tamas Gal is down the inside of Joris Krozen. through the double left-hander. Still, Joris Krozen hanging it around the outside of the inside line for turn number 8. They're wheel-to-wheel, little bit of contact between the pair of them. Somehow, some way, they've kept it out of the wall there, but Joris Krozen will be relegated down into P4. An opportunistic move made by Tamas Gal there on lap number 10, headed on towards lap number 11. They will reset and go once more. Tamas Gal smelling blood in the water. He's all over the back of Reese Linton after just making a move not 5 corners ago on Joris Krozen. He'll open up that DRS, not quite on the battery this time by, but he's still closing that gap to Reese Linton. Here he comes in towards turn number 3. Had a half think down the inside. Joris Krozen appears out of nowhere from the left of our picture as they get back on the power, back with the DRS open. This is superb racing from all these guys. Joris Krozen, he takes P3 again.
Absolutely superb there from Joris Krozen and Tamas Gal in their little battles as Duncan Hofland goes up into P6 ahead of Julian Klaffenbach. Julian gets it back. Ruben as well. Involved with John Evans, who's back up into P8 now. And all a bit of contact between John and Duncan heading into turn 6 and 7. John's got the inside line. Oh! And John's round. John Evans is round, but catches the car luckily and will slot back into P11 ahead of Shanaka Clay. That could have ended badly. We could have definitely had a car out of the race. And luckily, they all avoided the car of John Evans, stranded at turn number 7. And still, though, is in contention for points, but a lot further than he was earlier. That
was a couple laps coming between John Evans and Duncan Hofland. They have been fighting like dogs for the past couple of laps, and John Evans, unfortunately, he gets bitten at the wrong time, but what a save from him as Thomas Ronhar, welcome to the stream, welcome to the top 10. He has been able to weave his way through the traffic and find his way now into the top 10 here. Fantastic racing from him. We'll turn our attention back to the top of the order. It's Joris Krozen and Tamas Gal for the second lap running side by side. Joris Krozen then around the outside of Reese Linton now. Once again later on the brakes trying to find that opportunity, but on the exit of the corner Reese Linton will have that tighter line and be able to maintain that position. We are 1/3 of the way through in this Grand Prix. Can you believe it? It has felt incredibly long because of how action-packed it has been. They've crammed all this into 12 laps.
It's been superb. I mean, I'm looking at Joris Krozen, it just reminds me of a certain driver that's recently came into Formula 1, Franco Colapinto, brand new to the scene, fighting at the top and already making some audacious moves into some of the corners as now Joris up the inside into turn 1 ahead of Reese Linton, who will drop down to P3. A brilliant move there from Joris, who now looks to try and close in to the back of Brendan Lee. I'm not sure what happened there to Reese Linton because he lifted off heavily, heading down that back straight into turn 1. So I'm not sure if maybe he was trying to let Joris back through. His Tamas Gal now looks to fight back and get himself into P3 as well to knock Reese Linton outside the top 3 for the first time this race.
This is incredible stuff as Reese Linton will hold that inside line further back behind. We are watching Julian Klaffenbach is just behind him actually, because Duncan Hofland and Fabrizio Donoso, what a start Fabrizio has had to this race. He is on the back of his Aston Martin F1 teammate, and despite their difficult qualifying struggles, they've been able to find themselves in a decent points paying position. Let's just have a little look at the positions gained and lost. Istvan Pukki started this race in 11th. He's now up into 5th. He's up 6 spots in this race. Donoso's up 5 places. Thomas Ronhar up 10 spots in this Grand Prix. It's been a fantastic run from the Dutchman, who is hunting Tom Manley at the minute for P2 in the standings, Nathan. It's about 20 points or so between them at the minute. If Tom Manley remains outside the top 10 and Ronhar continues at this trajectory, he could definitely challenge for P2.
He certainly could as we head our way back up to turn number 3. And oh my god, look at this into turn 3. We have 3-1 action there. We've got, I think that was Julian Klaffenbach being pushed completely off circuit as Joris Krozen still in P2. Julian Klaffenbach into second place. And that was a massive dive bomb. I think it was from Julian heading into turn 3. We go 3-1 again into turn number 4. As look at all the cars behind looking to close in. Tamas Gal breaks up into 3rd. Joris Krozen drops down to P5. Linton is now under pressure from Duncan Hofland. Into turn number 6. We go into so up the inside of his teammate into turn 7. And still, the battle is getting more intense and more intense every lap we go by. And Brendan Lee for a second was able to gap the field. I think the gap went to 9/10 Then they headed down to turn 4. Brendan has that happen once again. He could easily be leading by over a second here.
Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Duncan Hoffman was cutting grass down that straight. He was on the grass, off the circuit completely. Somehow, he didn't crash. He remains in P7. This is superb racing. And this is about 15 minutes of action. We've still got maybe half an hour of this race left to go. It's incredibly exciting as Istvan Pukki looks around the outside of Tamas Gal. Thank you, Nathan. As now we got a yellow flag. No, I think that's just everyone. Is that Donoso? Oh, it is indeed. Fabrizio Donoso caught the inside. Yeah, okay. He's caught up the inside. Lenny Pepinter as well involved in the incident. Ruben Pedreño. So, oh my God! Fabrizio Donoso blindsiding Ruben Pedreño like he wasn't there at all. Jesus Christ, man. Sorry.
Driven into him.
He did. Pedreño was just kind of headed down the straight, and then he's hooked his tyres. I mean, we've caught that on stream. Pedreño's not going to be happy. He is way down at the back of the order, and that tells me like something happened between the pair of them down at turn number 3.
Well, I think it certainly did, because Donoso is not happy at all as we head on to lap 16 of 36, lap 15, sorry, of 36, as we do see Thomas Ronhaar up into P8. Right on the back now of Reese Linton, as Reese Linton's on the back of Duncan Hoffman. It just shows how quickly it can all change, because a minute ago, Thomas Ronhaar was outside the points. Reese Linton was up in the top 3. Now they're battling for 7th position together after only 2 laps. And now we do see Ronhaar to the inside, looking to make a move here. Pedreño will retire in the pits. Julian Klaffenbach makes a move ahead. Tamas Gal, they head their way up to turn number 4. And yet again, the battling is really, really intense now as Istvan Pukki enters the battle, looking to try and get himself up into 3rd place. As Brendan Lee drops to 2nd place, Julian goes up into the lead of the Grand Prix. And Istvan Pukki now looking to make a move ahead of Tamas Gal and gets that move completed now. Goes up into 3rd.
Yeah, what a race Istvan Pukki is having now. After starting in 11th position, he's found his way onto a podium spot. Pedreño has retired in the pit lane. I'll get the tyres back up for you on your screen. Apologies, I didn't see it was actually on the pit stop counter. But yeah, we continue with this time by 20 laps to go left in this race. What a Grand Prix filled with action we have seen so far, and it is going to continue onwards. These drivers definitely going to start thinking about their pit stops very, very soon. I wonder how that is going to come into effect. Surely someone is going to end up double stacking. They're all on the hards. They're all in one big DRS train. Anything and anything will happen as they climb up the hill for the 17th time in this race. Brendan Lee will retake the lead ahead of Julian Klaffenbach. What a race R8G is having. Ismail Fassi gets himself a time penalty. Duncan Hoffland is scrapping it out with Reese Linton at the minute. Everywhere you look, there is some battles to be had.
That certainly is, as Reese Linton there looking to make a move ahead of Duncan Hoffland into P6. Goes Reese Linton, but Duncan has the inside line, heading his way through into turn number 6. They go, and who will claim that 6th place? It will be Duncan Hoffman. And a big slide there from Reese Linton brings Thomas Ronhaar to make a move. Superb there by Thomas Ronhaar, up into P7 now, and looking to close in and make some moves in the top 6. I believe that Thomas started 20th on the grid. He's now up in the top 7, easily in contention for a top 5, and maybe in contention here for a podium, as we're not even halfway through the race. And as we begin lap 18, we are now halfway through the race, and it's still Brendan Lee that leads the Grand Prix ahead of Julian Klaffenbach and Istvan Pukki in 3rd. And with the way it's going at the moment, Brendan Lee will take the championship this round as long as he finishes P4 and Tom Manley's outside the top 10. Brendan Lee will take the championship.
Yep, Tom Manley, he is up into 14th position. He's ahead of Alvaro Carreton. He's slowly making his way up the order, and anything still can happen. I think, Nathan, when you're talking about Thomas Ronhaar, you're saying top 5, maybe a potential podium. I say, why not go for the win? Thomas Ronhaar has a very legit opportunity to take the victory in this Grand Prix. He's been on a fantastic upwards trajectory in this Grand Prix so far, starting in 20th. He's made his way up now into 7th position. Tom Manley is through on Jan Halliday. There's lots to be said in this Grand Prix. Istvan Pukki, he's on the back of Brendan Lee, looking to make his way into the top 2 for the first time in this Grand Prix. Lots of stuff happening everywhere you look.
There certainly is. I mean, it was a bit of a boisterous move there from Tom Manley on the back of Jan Halliday. Pretty much pushed Jan out wide onto the gravel as they went through into turn number 6. But as we head our way back to turn 1 with the leaders again, it's still Julian that leads. Brendan Lee looking to close and use that DRS to make a move for the lead of the Grand Prix. Pukki as well looking to close in as well and make a move for the lead of the Grand Prix. Down towards turn number 3 they go now. And Brendan Lee will have that lead for now ahead of Julian, and you're trying to figure out who's who. There's so many green cars all battling for positions. As here comes Joris Krozen on the outside of Pookie, looking to take third place, and I think should easily get that third place. But Pookie to the inside at turn 4. I thought he was going to go for a send there, but luckily backed out of it as they head their way through. And Joris is back up into third. About 5 laps to go. We're steady in P7. It's mad how quick the positions change around this circuit, but Krozen back in with contention for a podium here.
Yeah, Istvan Pukki went up the inside of Brendan Lee, then hit the inside of Brendan Lee on the right-hand side of his chassis. That allowed for Joris Krozen to go around the outside of him and make that move stick down the DRS straight. So great opportunism there from the R8G driver, your pole sitter in this Grand Prix. He remains in third place at the minute. I mean, you're absolutely right as well about the positions chopping and changing. Remember Julian Klaffenbach at the start of the race. He started in third, he dropped down to 6th or 7th at some point, and now he's found his way back onto the podium. It really is just a revolving door, this P1 position. It seems like no one wants to lead this Grand Prix at any given moment, as Julian Klaffenbach will take the lead of this Grand Prix. Joris Krozen looking up the inside of Brendan Lee. It's Van Pookie as well. He'll have retribution to be had for losing that place a lap ago, but for some reason, in comparison to the other laps, this one has been pretty calm, to be completely honest with you. Joris Krozen, he's looking for the move on Brendan Lee, but they're not all sending moves, they're not slinging it up the inside, and I wonder, are those tyres really beginning to see their signs of wear now?
They certainly could. I mean, with 20 laps in, you expect them to pit around, I'd probably say around now actually. You'd look to see cars starting to think about making their pit stops as we head through to complete lap 20 of 36. Does anyone pit this time around? And the only issue they've got with pitting is all the cars together in the train. If someone gets caught a little bit off guard by one of the leaders, we could have a bit of a crash or a bit of a collision heading through into that turn 9 and that pit entry area as we head our way up to turn 1. And Fabrizio Donoso has a 3-second time penalty, but it doesn't matter, he's already down at the back anyway. And Alvaro Carrizon has another penalty to add to his name as we head up to turn 3 again. And Brendan Lee carrying no speed up into the braking zone, and Joris had to completely lift out the throttle, heading up to about that 100-metre board down at turn number 3 as we head our way back to turn 4 again. Joris Krozen looking to make a move for the lead, gets past Brendan Lee. We'll be looking to get past Julian Klaffenbach into turn number 4 and backs off, lifts out of it to let Julian take the lead so he can have that DRS heading down to turn 3 once again. This
is probably the lowest position we've seen Brendan Lee in quite a while in this Grand Prix so far. We've seen drivers come and go at the very top of the order. Reese Linton at one point was a staple in the top 3 and on the podium. Now he's down in 8th place at this point. Istvan Pukki has just made a move on Brendan Lee, a fantastic move in towards that turn number 7 as Tamas Gao, he tries to come into the pit lane there. I think there was a little bit of contact with someone, and that is going to be a danger. He's going for the undercut. He'll slam onto the brakes into the pit lane, and we'll see what tyre. It's going to be the mediums for Tamas Gao. Going for the undercut. I wonder, how is everyone going to react to that? Surely this time by, you come into the pits as well.
Yeah, surely. I think we'll see everyone now start to think about making a pit stop. I mean, I don't think everybody will because of the sake of not wanting to be double stacked. But I think everyone in the top 4, top 5 should easily be thinking about making their pit stop here in this race as we head our way back down to turn number 4. We go Brendan Lee, this time defending off of Duncan Hoffland, and Brendan knows he needs a top 4 to take the championship, and this time Pukki there pushes him a little bit wide, heading into turn number 4, and Brendan Lee also going deep after that, and still down in 4th place. As we do see Pukki now looking to make a move for 2nd ahead of Joris Krozen into turn number 6. Goes to the inside, pushes Joris out a little bit wide. Joris has the outside line, and Julian Klaffenbach there being clever, defending back and allowing Joris to go back around the outside and get back into 2nd place. And now we should see a couple of them think about pitting.
Yeah, I believe that is Joris Krozen coming into the pit lane. Be careful not to get swiped as you break through there. Ishmael Fassi as well into the pit lane. He's had a quiet race so far. Shanika Clay is into the box as well. So a few drivers deciding to call it at this point in the race. But still the leaders, most of them remaining out on circuit. Klaffenbach leads from Istvan Pukki, then Brendan Lee in at 3rd. Duncan Hoffland has had a very good race so far. Tamas Gao, he's done. How has he done that? He pitted a lap before, so he's done that off the exit of turn number 10 as they head up the hill in through turn number 3 once again. Tamas Gao, in comparison to his rivals, comes out 2 seconds clear of Joris Krozen.
So the undercut, I think, is definitely better here as Fabrizio gets another penalty. This time that would have been down at, I think, turn number 3. But yeah, definitely the undercut looks like the most powerful strategy. But if that's the case, they've all got to start thinking about pitting right now, otherwise they could be under pressure here from Tamas, even though he's not going to be fighting for the win because of the penalty. He will still be there involved in that battle either way as we head our way through turn 8 into turn number 9. We'll see, does anyone choose to pit this time around here? I was on board with Brendan Lee. I think the 3 leaders are pitting, yes they are. Duncan Hoffman continues on, Ron Harbour also continues on for another lap along with Reese Linton, but the top 3 all head into the pits.
Yeah, it seems like they are the only drivers this lap by to come into the pit lane, so we'll see where they emerge in comparison to Joris Krozen, who at the minute I would say is your net race leader. Tamas Gal only 3 seconds of penalties to his name at the minute. He's closing to the back of Fabrizio Donoso as well at this point, as Thomas Ronhar will take the lead of this Grand Prix. Jan Halliday with the fastest lap of the race and is actually ahead of Klaffenbach and Brendan Lee. So these guys with the undercut, the likes of Jan Halliday and Ismail Fassi, it's a great strategy choice for them, because now they've essentially interjected themselves, despite having 1 lap older tyres than all of the leaders who have just pitted. They've essentially put themselves in a position where they are now racing each other.
They have, but a big mistake there from Jan Halliday at turn 3 has brought Ismail Fassi to make a move and also lose a bit of time there to Joris Krozen, who's in the net lead of the race. So Jan Halliday is our net second place driver here in this race at the moment, with Shanika Clay in net 3rd, with Istvan Puk closing in behind as well. Tyre-wise, just looking at the disparity at the moment, there's 2 laps for Jan Halliday, 0 laps here for Istvan Puk, so we'll see how much of a difference that will make, as we do see Thomas Ronhard, Duncan Hoffland and Ben Chabakonyi head into the pits now. They'll go into a set of the medium tyres to take them to the end of this race, and still many cars choosing to stay out quite late. And Tom Manley, I think he knows he's on a bit of a back foot at the moment, so he might as well try something a bit different and try and get a result out of the race. But at the moment, Brendan Lee is right at the back of that train, and he's actually lost a lot of time. What's happened to Brendan Lee?
Brendan Lee at the minute, yeah, he has lost time to Julian Klaffenbach. He is 2 seconds back when they pitted on the exact same lap. What? Brendan Lee, what has he done there? He's now right ahead of Thomas Ronhar, who has just pitted. And when we saw the gap between Tamas Gau and the rest of the drivers when they pitted, you know, the likes of Joris Krozen, that was 2 seconds between them there. And so what has happened with Brendan Lee must have made a big error, and that is going to hurt his chances of scoring a top 4, Nathan. And Tom Manley, that could actually leave the championship still open. Just very marginally. It's like the door has been slammed shut on Tom Manley's face, and then it's been slightly opened for him just to peep his eye through at that championship glory.
It's certainly still a possibility, because Brendan Lee's got a lot of work to do now to try and catch back up to that leading train, of course, being led by Ismail Fassi, with Tamashkal a couple of seconds up the road. But if Tamashkal didn't have that penalty, this could have been a really good result for him here, because at the moment, Ismail Fassi is not really closing in. I know he will eventually, but at the moment, it does give Tamashkal a bit of free air, a bit of, you know, a downtime, and he can relax a bit while driving and not having to worry about looking for cars behind and looking at cars ahead as Joris Krozen there goes ahead of Ismail Fassi. Pookie ahead of Jan Halliday now, allowing Shanika Clay to also close in and look for an opportunity, and further back as well, Julian Klaffenbach here looking to try and make a move ahead of Shanika Clay. Down to turn number 4 we go, and a big send there from Klaffenbach on Shanika Clay, and that hasn't worked. Shanika Clay said no thank you, you can stay behind, and Thomas Ronhard now ahead of Brendan Lee.
Yeah, that would have been an easy move for Thomas Ronhard to get ahead of Brendan Lee, because they are 2.3 seconds behind Julian Klaffenbach at the minute. And so, of course, no DRS in the hands of the man in 9th position. Jake Benham will be the last driver to come into the pit lane. That will leave Tamas Gal in the lead of this Grand Prix. He was about 2 seconds clear of Joris Krozen when he came out of the pit lane, and now that has been cut down by to 1.2 seconds. So already 5 laps into this stint for Tamas Gal, he is losing a lot of speed in comparison to his rivals. And I think next time by, next DRS straight, Joris is going to have the DRS. Ismail Fassi is on the back of Joris Krozen, as is Istvan Pookie. In towards turn number 3 they go. Istvan down the inside of the Williams driver, makes that move stick up the inside. The Mercedes driver gets himself into P3, and that could very well turn into P2 very soon, because Joris Krozen has that DRS on Tamas Gal.
And Julian Klaffenbach yet again making a massive send, this time on Jan Halliday, and Julian is certainly not shy of making an overtake here at his home Grand Prix. Looking to make a move ahead there. Jan Halliday gets it complete, and now Shanika Clay's turn to make a move ahead of Jan Halliday. Can't quite make it into turn 7 and 8. So we'll have to look for it down, I presume, at turn number 3. But we do see Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronhart. They're closing in slightly, but not by much as we head our way through into the penultimate corner, into the final corner, and back down to turn 1 to begin lap 28 of 36. And Tamashgal leads, and just it's a big shame that he had a penalty. Same at 4. Ishmael Fassi, the ones they could easily be in a contention here for a podium spot, but unfortunately they will be looking to score some very minimal points in this race because of their respective penalties as we head our way back up to turn 3. And Pookie on the charge on the back of Joris Krozen here looks to make a move.
Oh, that's a big send from a long way back on the rear of Joris Krozen. There is Istvan Pukki up the inside, gets the power down earlier, and that was a fantastic send up the inside from him. Makes it a Hungarian 1-2, and now with 2 lap fresher tyres than Tamás Gal, Istvan Pukki could well and truly be in the lead this time by next lap. But we'll have to wait and see. Lap 28 of 36. We're entering the twilight stage of this Grand Prix. The laps are ticking down, and these guys are going to be thinking about getting to the end of this race and thinking about where they want to be. Obviously, the ideal position is in P2, where Istvan Pukki is now, but with how dynamic this circuit is, with the positions that these drivers are in, they could be in any spot and potentially have a scrap for the win. Lap 29 of 36. Istvan Pukki on the back of Tamás Gal. Here he comes, headed in towards turn number 3.
Certainly, and with the position that Tom Manny's in P12, right on the back of Reece Linton, I think Tom Manny could easily get a point here. So Brendan Lee might need a P3 at minimum as we head our way up to the hill at turn number 3. We've got Joris being sent here by the by Ishmael Fassi up into turn 3. Brilliant move there by the Williams driver up into P3, and now Julian Klappenbach enters the scene looking to make a move as well for P4 as Ishmael Fassi looks to make a move for second place, and Joris makes a massive send to make it 3 wide heading into turn number 5 and 4, and Ishmael Fassi gets sent 8 wide, hits the gravel, and now loses a bunch of positions as they head their way through into turn number 6. Jan Harde went to make a move but couldn't quite get it done there on Ishmael Fassi, but Ismail will definitely not be happy with that one as they head their way back through turn 7 and 8 and down towards turn 9 and 10 once again. I've got to say, Dan, the track's getting darker and darker. The weather looks like we could see a bit of rain towards the end.
Oh, it's going to be very minimal on the last couple of laps if the rain does decide to fall. But if it happens, maybe in the next 2 or 3, who knows? Someone could gamble further back in the pack and then go for a set of the intermediates, and it could well and truly work out. Istvan Pukki, meanwhile, checking out of this Grand Prix, 8 tenths clear of Tamás Gal at the minute. It is imperative that Joris Krozen makes this move stick on Tamás up the inside through turn number 3. Tamás are going to hold it around the outside with 1 lap older tyres. Here comes Joris Krozen, Julian Klappenbach as well, looking to get in the fray. Joris Krozen through on Tamás. Julian will follow on through, and Tamás with no defence there and towards turn number 4. Ishmael Fassi sticking his nose in there after being high out to dry last time by. He will remain in P5 with a penalty still to his name. And one key crucial thing, Nathan, is that Thomas Ronhart with the freshest tyres out of anyone in the top 10 besides Reece Linton, who's 1.8 seconds back. He is now within DRS range of Shanika Clay.
And also, Joris has lost the DRS of Istvan Pukki fully now. The gap's 1.1. Istvan can possibly check out here, but it depends what Julian can do heading down to turn 3. If he can make a good send on the back of Joris, not break too late, he could easily get them back within a second of Istvan Pukki as we head our way out of turn number 1 down to turn 3 we go, and Thomas Ronhart right on the rear of Shanika Clay, and you can see there Julian is allowed through by Joris, so they can try and get back within a second here of Istvan Pukki, but Istvan will be driving very carefully now to try and keep that gap above a second. But it didn't last that long because the gap is already below 1 second, and now Julian will use a bit of battery to try and close back in. But we look further back as well there. Ishmael Fassi yet again on the back of Tamás Gal looking to try and find an overtake. But the crucial thing is, Brendan Lee is right in this battle, so he can try and fight yet again for a top 3. It's going to be hard, but still more than possible here for Brendan.
Yeah, well, this time by, it is 5 laps to go, and we are in for some 5 laps of absolute delight. They were always going to catch Istvan Pukki, being able to DRS off each other, but Joris Krozen is struggling to keep touch with Julian Klappenbach at the minute. With those 8-lap-old tyres, you just see the difference that 1 lap of wear really does make, and that is why Thomas Ronhart is in such a strong position. On the back of all of these runners, he's got 3 lap fresher tyres than Tamás Tamas Gal and Jan Halliday. Watch out for Thomas Ronhaar starting 20th on the grid this evening. He really could slot himself into a potential race winning position as they climb the hill for the 32nd time. We're on board with the Dutchman in the kick Sauber. He's going to remain patient. He'll have a half look around the outside of Shanneke Clay as Jan Halliday gets himself a 3-second time penalty off the exit of turn number 3. Still, things can kick off in the final couple of laps in this Grand Prix as Tamas Gal defending from Jan Halliday, and this is big stuff for Thomas Ronhaar. They're fighting ahead of him. Thomas gets through on Shanneke Clay. Nathan on lap 32. This is exciting.
It certainly is. I mean, Thomas with the 3 cars having a penalty ahead of him, he's on for a net P4, which is superb considering he started at the back of the grid as we head our way down to turn 9, and Thomas looking to make a move ahead. Tamas goes, Shanneke Clay goes to the outside of Tamas and makes the move up into P6, and they're looking to close in on the back of Jan Halliday, who of course got a penalty last lap around. And I think the issue now that a few drivers will certainly have is with 33 laps in, many of them will be on 2 warnings, I think, at this point, and very close to the risk of having a penalty. So they're going to have to be a little bit more careful and a bit more conservative with some of the track limits as they head into some of the heavy braking zones and some of the high-speed corners. As Shanneke Clay now moves up into P5 ahead of Jan Halliday. And if Shanneke can get this P5 or even a P4 or P3, what a result it would be for Shanneke. It's not been a good game at all for him. He's really struggled so far, but he's actually on for a good result here. This could be superb for him.
Yeah, lots of crashes so far this game. Oh, wow, Thomas Ronhaar down the inside of both Shanneke Clay and Jan Halliday. What a move from Thomas Ronhaar. He's overshot it ever so slightly, and Shanneke Clay is going for that move back on him. But there it is, down the inside through turn number 6. What an overtake from Thomas Ronhaar. A double move to get himself into P5, but he has sacrificed the DRS there. But Nathan, you're absolutely right about Shanneke Clay. He's on for a P5 in this Grand Prix, and that would be a huge result for him. Of course, not a part of the F1 esports scene for the past season. It's been a very difficult time for Shanneke, but he's still keep in touch with these guys in the top 10 here this evening, and he's on for a good result.
He certainly is, but because of that move from Ronhaar, they've lost the 1 second gap to the top 4, so they've got to do all the work again to get back within a second of the top 4 train, being Pookie, Klaffenbach, Crozen and Fassi, as Thomas Ronhaar loses 2 positions heading into turn 3, which will be Brendan Lee and Shanneke Clay moving up into P5 and P6. And remember, with the position at the moment where Tom Manley is, Brendan Lee will need a P4, but of course if Tom Manley, if he gets even 1 point, Brendan Lee would need a P3 to wrap up the championship here today in Austria. But don't worry guys, because he will still have the chance in the remaining 2 races, which I can't remember what tracks they are. I think one of them is China, isn't it, Dan?
Oh, I'm not too sure either. I'll have to. We'll bring it up on your screens at the end of this stream. But funnily enough, Brendan Lee, with the penalty applied to Ismail Fassi, he'll be P4 in this race. So as it stands, Brendan Lee is winning the championship, pending, of course, any stewards inquiries. We could indeed be heading into next week on a Monday night as well. Make sure you don't miss that, as we've essentially now got a 3-car fight for the lead. Ismail Fassi, he's in the train, and he could cause some waves and maybe some disruption, but of course with that penalty, he's not going to be taking the win of this Grand Prix. However, Julian Klaffenbach, Istvan Pukki and Joris Krozen, those are the guys who will be watching headed on to the final lap of this race, and who is going to be taking the win? We'll have to wait and see.
It's going to be a close one indeed, and actually the top 4 have actually broke away easily, because now Shanneke and Brendan and Thomas have lost a lot of time, so I don't think they're really going to be looking to try and get back up to the top 4. So Brendan's just got to hope that he can be within 3 seconds of Ismail Fassi as they exit the final lap. It's lap 35 or 36. We're heading on to the final lap very shortly, and Brendan Lee just got to hope that he can keep within 3 seconds of Ismail Fassi, because as it stands, he will be the champion. But then again, Dan, Tom Manley will benefit off Jan and Tamas, so I don't think it will be. I think it'll be 1 point that Brendan Lee will miss out on.
Absolutely, we'll have to wait and see as they head on to the final lap for the final time. Thomas Ronhaar gets himself a 3-second time penalty. That could be another position gained for Tom Manley. But here is Julian Klaffenbach on the back of Istvan Pukki for the win of this race. What can they do as they climb up the hill for the final time? Istvan will have to defend that inside. Julian will go to his favourite position, the outside line through turn number 3. Heavy on the brakes through the corner they go, and he's made that move stick. But Istvan Pukki with a superior exit, and now with the DRS will dart to the outside line in towards Schloss Gold for the final time. Joris Krozen, a spectator in this battle at the minute as they bang wheels, and Joris Krozen down the inside of them both. What a move, parting of the sea GG for Joris Krozen. A sensational overtake from him there to get himself into the lead on the final lap of this race. Julian Klaffenbach, he has now made it a 1-2 for R8G. As into the final two corners for the final time, through goes Joris, as now turn number 10 approaches him for the last time. It's a lights to flag win from him, a pole position. Janica Clay is around, but Joris Krozen to the line will take the victory ahead of Julian Klaffenbach. István Pukki in third position there. Ismail Fassi actually remains in fourth. Tom Manley is in fifth. What?
Happened to Brendan Lee?
Huh? Brendan Lee is down in 14th position. Excuse me?
Oh my.
No, I think so. Something must have happened there. Did he get a penalty or something? What the hell happened? What? I have no clue, truth be told.
In a second, won't we? But what a move from Joris, though.
Oh my god, what an overtake.
That was the move of the season in my eyes.
Oh yeah. Unbelievable.
I mean, I feel like Joris knew that was going to happen with Julian, because Julian went from such a send into turn 4. It was only going to end in the fact they both went deep.
That was incredible.
Brendan Lee got a 20-second penalty.
Oh, okay, that'll get removed. That will get removed.
So it would have been P4. No, P5, sorry, Brendan Lee would have been.
Wow. I mean, we'll have a look at the results in just a minute's time. I'll have to apologise to my flatmates as well for shouting very, very loudly. But, wow. What a race that was. Who won this one? Joris Krozen. He won this Grand Prix. He stands atop the podium today. What a move. I'll be watching that one back over and over again. It was an R8G 1-2, but not the 1-2 you would expect with Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronhaar. It's the two youngsters. It's the rising stars, Nathan. They've appeared on this F1 24 game. We've seen flashes of them in previous game cycles. What a run from them. The results are on your screen. Joris Krozen wins this Grand Prix ahead of Julian Klaffenbach. István Pukki in P3. P4, Ismail Fassi. Reese Linton in P5. P6 is Duncan Hoffland. I have no clue what is it with these penalties, because look, John Evans has 23 seconds as well. I think Tamas Gao probably had 20 seconds. Yeah, what the... Fantastic game, honestly. Brennan, that's a straight up... Nathan, by the way. That's not two separate penalties. That is a straight up 20-second penalty. How? I did not know that was possible.
Well, Brendan Lee's made it possible. I think... What would it have been? How would you have got that?
I'm gonna do something I never really do. I'm gonna have a look at the race director and go to incidences. We can name and shame everyone for their warnings, but I'm just gonna head to the final lap. Corner cutting gained 1 place for Brendan Lee, John Evans, and Tamas Gao. We're gonna have to watch that one back. I'll bring you back over to the game scene, to the intermission scene now, and we'll digest what has just happened in that race after a quick word from our sponsors at Grid Finder and Next Level Racing. So we'll see you in just a minute's time. Wow. That's all I can say. In that ad break there, the only word that came to my head about that race was just wow. What? We got to talk about Joris Krozen, Nathan, and I'd love to hear from him in the interview room. What a job from him there.
it was that move at turn 4. Like I said earlier, move of the season. I mean, we see ambitious moves, and that was just. It was like he knew it was going to happen. He waited for Julian to go deep, and Istvan to be carried with him straight through, and then not really any risk towards the end. He knew there's no more DRS spots, there's no more battery for them to use because I've already burnt it to turn 4. It was just a cruise home without getting a penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can talk now actually to two of our podium sisters. Unfortunately, neither of them is named Joris Krozen. But who should we drag in first? We'll bring in Istvan Pukki. I think we can talk to him first if he'll undeafen and then talk to us. Istvan, my friend, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, man. I can.
Okay, perfect. So starting this race off this evening, you weren't in the best position. P11 in qualifying. What went wrong?
Well, the qualifying session, I knew I was fast. I just couldn't put the laps together. I invalidated twice in the last turn, so nothing really unlucky on that. It's just me having a bit of skill issue on quali. But on the race, straight away in the first full lap, I saw I'm quick compared to the field. That I felt that the whole race. I think all of the moves I done on the first stint were fine, and there was nothing um, really to discuss. And after the pits, um, I was in a great position in P4, P3. I just kept climbing up. I didn't really want to overtake actually, but always the situation just led me to it. Like I always just attacked to defend, but everyone just backed out and didn't really fight the position. And somehow I got to P1. I don't exactly remember how, but there was a bit of a mess behind me as well, like 4 or 5 tenths of a gap I had suddenly, and I didn't really try to escape out of the DRS. I was just obviously I used a bit more battery than I would use in the train, but didn't push overtake and hot lap the whole lap for the whole lap. So I just kept on medium, some places where I should go non realistically. So I didn't run out of FRS, and somehow I gapped the field. Maybe they kept battling or something like that. And but obviously I know it's 1.3. That's not gonna be enough to keep it the whole race. They just gonna swap and get me eventually. So I was not surprised or disappointed with that. But however, the last lap, I did everything right, and into turn 4, I had the position. I was more than a car in front. I defended on the middle of the track, and I broke really late. Like I knew if someone is going to get next to me, he's not making the turn, and Julian just basically ran me out of road, and he could barely stop himself. And P3 was Yoris, I think he made a double switchback, so we just both he just ruined our races, both of us, and it's a shame, but that's it. We go on.
I mean, still P3, your first podium of the season. You've had a decent run of points so far, and I believe you jump up to now 5th in the standings. So, all in all, so far in the first 10 rounds of this season, how are you feeling with your performances on the new game?
Well, if you ask about the results, I think those are terrible. But
fair enough.
How my pace is during the quali sessions and during the races, I feel my pace is actually really good, and I think I stepped up compared to last game, and I feel a bit faster. I'm not saying I will be the champion or something like that, but I feel quick. I think I'm good for strong points for podiums and always can fight for wins this game. But I just feel like my results really don't reflect actually what's happening, and it's because of the game, because it's all about just the battles and who pushes you wide, who doesn't push you wide. Yeah, most of the time it's just about this, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, and well, heading into next week, we head to Zandvoort in the Netherlands. It's a very short circuit like Austria, but there's some key differences. Of course, noting to that first sector's twisty section. How are you feeling around that circuit?
I always hated Zandvoort, and this game they managed to make it even worse. So I'm not really looking forward to it. I think I will race. I will try my best as always, but there's definitely a track I'm not gonna enjoy.
Well, I mean, what? I suppose you can leave today at least happy you ended up on the podium after a pretty poor qualifying session. That's all from me. Really well done to you, Isfan. Nathan, anything you want to say to Isfan here?
Of course. Well, first of all, well done on the podium. A brilliant job indeed getting that P2 at the end. Just one quick question from me. Obviously, how do you think that the racing so far is preparing you for esports? Do you think it's helping a lot heading into the season?
It's hard to really judge this because obviously the more experience you have on the game, the better it is for you. And you learn how the contact model and how these lines work during the race with worn tires, with fresh tires. What can you really achieve, and how deep you can break and stuff like this. So this way it definitely does help, but every race is just so random. Like I'm sure if we played this race the same way, same grid, same starting order, I think it would be different 100 times out of 100 times the results. So it's just so random. Everything you bunch up, especially around a track like this in Austria, turn free is always every lap. You just need to survive and just keep your nose clean. And there is things that happen out of your hands that you can't control. Sometimes the field bunches up in front of you and you can't do anything because you follow each other 1/10 and you basically have nothing, no time to react. So that way, from this aspect, it's really bad and it's down to the game. No one can do anything about it. And also the DRS stuff is just here the whole experience of league racing. And last game and the years before, it's been not like this, and that really ruins the whole experience of the game and driving and F1, and it's really starting to destroy everything we love about league racing.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of what needs to be done. I think by EA, Codemasters, the leagues, I think there's a lot of things that needs to be done. But hopefully, things can try and get a little bit better over time. But Isfan, mate, thank you for joining us here for an interview. It's been a pleasure to speak with you as always, and hopefully we'll see you again sometime this season.
Yeah, thank you guys. Bye.
All right, have a good one. Bye.
Thank you to Isfan Pookie for joining us in the interview room. I saw Julian Klaffenbach was there, but he since left, so I'd imagine he doesn't want an interview anymore. So I think now we can wrap things up. Brendan Lee, we were talking about him this race, Nathan, like he was going to wrap it all up. Of course, whatever happened with those 20-second penalties, that's a joke. I don't know why does the automatic steward do that? 20 seconds. It's not like that even happens in real life, is it? It's never 20.
It's weird. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe I think there was a bit of contact either way. So maybe someone's gone off or something at the final corner. He's gone around them, and maybe it's because he's made like 3 positions or something off track. Weird.
Yeah, someone crashed. There was a yellow flag in that final corner, and I think just because of avoiding and then going past the spun off car, I think that is why they've got the penalty. And normally it's 10 seconds for cutting the corner, but I think because they've crossed the line as they've done that, it's upgraded it to a 20-second penalty. I think it does it like that. Very strange, very wrong, but the stewards are gonna correct that. We'll get the actual results headed into next week, but most definitely Tom Manley, he did enough to stay in the fight. Brendan Lee didn't get a podium. Our top 3 is solid, and Tom Manley was in the top 10 by the end of that race. So the championship rolls on next week to Zandvoort, and then it's China, the final round of the season. So you are right, China is on the calendar, but it's Zandvoort next time out. Again, a very quick circuit like Austria, but characteristically they are nothing alike.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it, Dan? It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, is it Zandvoort we're off to next week, was it?
Yeah, Zandvoort.
I mean, unfortunately, I'm not going to be here again because I've got some of the commentary duties, and unfortunately, everything was pushed back to a Monday. But hopefully, when we get to the final round, there will be some sort of battling for the championship. But I think, with the gaps being where they are, I think Tom Manley would have got like P6 and Brendan Lee would have been P5, I think, at the end. Maybe a little bit different. So the gap is still very similar going through into the next race. So there's still going to be a lot of work for Tom Manley to do.
Yeah, Tom Manley is relying on Brendan Lee to absolute. I can't.
DNF.
Yeah, I can't say it, but crap the bed is what I'm going for. That's what needs to happen for Tom Manley to keep the championship alive. Brendan Lee just needs to finish in the top 10s, honestly, and then he's absolutely fine right towards the end of the season. Tom Manley's got to do everything he can, win as many races, get as many podiums, and I think the benchmark might actually be win or nothing for Tom Manley next time out in Zandvoort. So make sure you do catch us next time. Bye, of course. Once again, numbers aren't great, but we are very grateful to have everyone who tuned in here this evening actually joining us and interacting with us throughout this race. So even those who are asking where is Jarno, despite him not being here for the past 4 weeks or something. So thank you everyone for tuning in here this evening. We will see you next time out in the Netherlands. But for now, that is everything. So I'm not actually going to say goodnight because I forgot to plug the socials. If you haven't followed us on anything just yet, please make sure you do. It is at WOR League on Twitter, and it is World Online Racing F1 on TikTok. And if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, make sure you do so. It's the big red button beneath your screen. You can't miss it. And hit that like button as well. If you want to follow myself on Twitter, it is at DanfieldF1_. And then if you want to follow Nathan, it is RichieF1 with the I's replaced by the ones. But for now, that is everything. So thank you and good night.